here's where I, you know, pick
Forgot to do that.
clearly. It's like those for me, it's changed in a while and it's been a minute since I've looked at it. But it's like I realized where I couldn't do alternate picking fast. And then
Hmm.
what tempos my slurs lost control. And then at what tempos I needed to take what I call like half note solos,
Hmm.
which is just like kind of pretend you're Bill Frisell, right? And just be like, okay, if the tempo is this, because he doesn't play those.
Hmm.
Like, I think a big part of what made him him is deciding, okay, what if I stop trying to be good at that, and but still play music and be creative? It's like no one is expecting you except you, and I'm talking to myself. No one is expecting this Adam Rogers, and even those guys. They practice so hard to get a certain type of thing at that tempo, and a lot of scrutiny of what tempo is fast. How fast can I pick? What does a smaller, rounder pick do for my speed? What does it compromise? What are my, so like if you're set up for speed, if you're sped up to do that thing, you may not be getting the sound you want or the swing feel you want. Plus, that stuff doesn't always swing.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's too fast like that, I mean, if you're Herbie and all these people that can make that really fast tempo just feel good. And also, when you think of something as fast, try to quantify it. Like, how fast are the tunes that you think of as fast tunes? I think you'll be surprised that some are faster than you think they are, and some are not as fast as you think they are. And
Hmm.
that's some shit that's you could deal with for the rest of your life. And if you really want to deal with it, you just have to take a week to a month to go back to the OG practicing thing of like, how the fuck do I do this?
That's
And
kind of what I'm thinking.
yeah, and
Should
it's
I
fine.
start back at the beginning, and say I need to get a metronome going and just this is how I got there last time. Just do it again. I mean, the quantifying thing, that's very much the way my brain works too. Everything you just said is like exactly how I think. And that's how I did it. I think I got to 180 in 16th notes, and that's when I was like, that's my limit. So I'm wondering now if you do the math, you're at 90 for eighth notes. Um, let's see, that doesn't
Yeah, I
make
mean,
sense.
I would think the faster you go, the slower you set the metronome,
Sorry,
right? So
I
like,
went the wrong way. So 300,
yeah,
double it for
300
eighth
is
notes. That's where I start to lose it. And probably
that's.
now even way before that.
I always felt that like 120 at half note, so 240 is where things start to get fast for me,
Okay.
and that's not
So
even that fast.
yeah, right. And I think that's
So
to your point. I think a lot of stuff is faster than I even think. Um,
yeah, are we gonna just talk about this for a minute, or did you? Because there's a lot that you just threw out on the table
okay.
there.
No, why not? I mean, I've got one tune. It's a very easy one later if we get there, but it's cool if not. This is where I really need to be. I was doing a lot of thinking about it and sort of mental journaling as I was on vacation. So,
Another cool thing in regards to the Gale break, one thing that was helpful for me is I took one of those from the number one, um, and one from the melodic minor one, and I just tried to get it as fast as I could.
hmm,
I just used it as an etude that gone over a long period of time, like
let's see where that is on
6 months,
my bookcase.
and
No, I
that
have
way
it.
you can just decide like for yourself, yeah, just what do you need to do to get it that fast? Because it is, it's different than a bop head. It's more involved, and that was enlightening because it's like some things just can't get above 100.
Right.
It's just too fast. I mean, it's just there's something going on. So you then have to crack some codes, left hand and right hand, of like if there was a gun to my head and I had to get 20 more BPM out of this. What can I do? What are all the tricks available to
And
get this passage together? And sometimes you learn something really profound, and sometimes you just learn how to play that passage faster. But
right.
um,
Can I see
like
if I can find that real quick? You can keep talking.
sure,
I'm gonna go over here.
it's not fast anymore, is it?
I know they're in there somewhere, but it's how crazy my bookcase has gotten. Anyway, it
Um,
doesn't matter.
yeah, well,
I'll
I
find
mean,
it.
I can send them to you too.
You have PDFs of them?
I think so. Let me check.
Oh wow, I'd like to have that just to have it.
You know, it's worth. I canceled it eventually, thinking I would be saving money, but Scribd, Scribd,
Oh
the
yeah, it's on
shit,
there.
man, everything is on there. Like I just stopped eventually because I wanted to stop trolling it, you know. But
Yeah, I gave it up for about 5 months, and I just couldn't. I had to go back.
yeah,
It's
it's just too important. But
it
I
is.
don't know. I've downloaded a lot from it. So
You got American Express at all?
the credit card.
They're running some deal with Scribd. I think I get like $7 back a month. I don't know.
I thought it was $7. The price must have
It's
gone
like
up.
11 now.
Interesting.
I can actually go on there too.
Now I don't agree with all of Galbraith's fingerings, um, but some of them are great, and you gotta have a pencil handy for slur markings and pick direction and like all sorts of stuff. Um, and there's plenty of things you can get stuff. There's 20th century saxophone repertoire. There was a thing I used to practice out called top tones for trumpet. It's like you just pick something and decide how do I get this sounding as good as possible, you know.
Mm.
And it's different than a bop head because I'm talking about something that just goes over and over and over, like arpeggios and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I
You
want
know,
to
like an
do.
etude book.
Hmm.
This would be on Scribd. It's called Top Tones for Trumpet, and they just have a little prelude in every key. I don't happen to have. Oh shit! Look at that. I do have it. I'm excited to share this with you because I shitted the fuck out of this for a year or so. There was a trumpet player in Boston I used to play with, and I used to tune down a whole step so that I was playing B flat guitar,
Oh, cool.
and we would read these together for hours. Um, and it's cool because it takes the pressure off. Like classical guitar books are always going to have double stops and right hand fingerings, you know. But if you have something written for a melodic instrument like flute, clarinet, or guitar, like the Bach violin sonatas and partitas for guitar are really great to sight read
Hmm.
through too. But if that top tones things, if you receive that, let me show you something cool about it.
Hmm.
Do you have it?
Yep, it's opening.
Yeah. So just go to the first etude, the one in C, number 8. What's cool about this, right, is that the whole motive of the slurring, not all of them are going to work, but you can almost try to make, you could almost try to make them work. I would
Hmm.
favor more guitaristic things, but and what's great about it is you try to guess what he's going to do. So I'm kind of exercising my musical awareness at the same time as my technique.
Cool.
And they're just, you know, changing keys. And it definitely brought up for me in the case of like the first two measures, how would all the
Mm.
little ways to finger it versus, or that might be better.
Mm.
But I probably wouldn't do that on electric guitar. So there's a lot of problem solving. And
Are you trying to follow as many slurs as written as
no,
possible?
I'm trying to consider what he means by if it helps me guitaristically. It's
Uh-huh.
just I'd probably add a few more. I'm now
Hmm.
right before the staccato section, this E flat, and
Hmm.
then now it's outlining five of E flat. So
Hmm.
see what I'm doing?
That's cool.
It's great, and it's really fun musical stuff.
It
Some I
is.
just skip. Some I should. I haven't worked through it in a while. But another one of my favorite ones was the G one on page 12. It's just like so many of the things that make classical musicians great is that they really know how to just unapologetically emote a melody.
Hmm.
And like jazz, sometimes everyone has the exact same personality when they play. They go for this thing based on their heroes. And it's like there's so many different ways to overdo it that's fun. And this is a tarantella, right? That's that da 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 Italian
Dance. Yeah.
dance based on the tarantula, at least mythically. And
Is
it,
it?
and
I
it
didn't know that.
yeah, well, it's means tarantula, you know. So
Okay.
if whether it was based on a real dance or whether it was based on what people looked like when they danced, is still subject to some conjecture. But
That's funny.
and there's just a lot of harmonic things that we don't get to deal with melodically on guitar. Um, these are all quite musical. Let me just figure out this D minor one on page 18. I
Oh,
remember doing
a lot
beautifully.
of that on that one I was watching you, and there's a lot of the economy picking thing. And I don't know if you
Hmm.
realize you're doing it, but that'd be something I'd have to sit down and sort of figure out. I mean, obviously, when you were going up the strings with the little slurs, that makes
Yeah,
sense because it's almost like an arpeggio. But you think in general,
I
would
think
you?
what I'm trying to do is get the melody to sing and also feel good and then lay out on the instrument in a musical way. So it's like,
And a very small example, just the first two beats. Would you go down and slur the three notes and then up and slur the three notes on the second
let's see.
um, dotted quarter? Down, up, down. You're doing two downs. Boom.
Well, like jig picking, you want to have a downbeat on the grouping of three.
Right.
And I think I'm slurring all of them. But now that I picked the last one, that sounds good too.
I was messing with that too. Yeah.
It's also great in terms of mapping out. I don't have to explain this to you, John, because I know you know it. But like, it's really important for me in terms of how I play to see the chord. So that's G, and then this is D7. So it's like I gotta
Hmm.
see a
Hmm.
basic D7 thing. And when it
Hmm.
goes up, do I keep going up the instrument, or do I shift back into the
String set. Yeah.
yeah? Funny, I'm really going for that A here, whereas it should be to keep it in a position. Now this is interesting because it'd be tempo dependent for me. Like
Hmm.
I'm going one pick stroke, efficiency. Nope. Yeah, I am. I'm doing two backwards and then a slur. probably switch string sets there because they speak better on this instrument.
Yeah, so your point about just your pick the picking sort of how you're choosing it depends on the musicality of the line. It really
Fucking a million thousand percent.
yeah, which
So
is it's a hard thing to really like quant or what's the word, like make an equation for because it just depends on the line.
unless you treat every time you play as an opportunity to sing, it's
Mhm.
like at all times you have to make sure that what you're doing is like how a singer or a trumpet player or a saxophone or a clarinetist or a bowed instrument shapes the sound. There's no way for somebody to play it without having it some sense of how they're hearing it move forward. And on a piano and guitar, I think there's something about the mechanical activity that makes us think if I just get a defaulted something, all this music is going to happen. Whereas nothing could be farther from the truth. You have to hear the shape in your head with articulation and character and all that sort of stuff. And that way, when you play, and some people play with the same sort of characterization a lot. That's like style, right? Schofield,
Mhm.
Matheny, Frizzell. But the fun of playing is going to become from shaping the sound, and that shit, man, play with everything you got. You know what I mean? That's why people can play with their thumb, or they can play with, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
classicals, like all of that stuff. It really doesn't matter how you play; it matters how you hear. And so little things like this are just fun to be like, this isn't a skate because you'll zone out on the Galbraith a little bit. They're great lines, but they're no rests.
Hmm.
And so with
I
no
remember
rest,
that.
there's no character, you know. But there's a lot of great opportunities for alternate picking, and slurring at swing and straight. This is what all my JMU incoming freshmen have to do one of those. And if they don't do it, I make them do it in the second semester. It's like pick one, play it all alternate picked,
Mm.
swung and straight. Then find as many slurs that make musical sense for either swing or straight. And the tempo marking, I think it's between 85 and 100 half note, which is pretty quick. And it's like that just gets you an awareness. If you really do that, you'll figure out how the mechanics of that work. But that has nothing to do with a character.
Hmm.
know? And like
Yeah.
all of our heroes are characters, man, taking a Monk solo, taking a Frizzell solo, sounding like Schofield, sounding like West, sounding like Django. It's not the licks they played, it's the sounds they were shaping, you know?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a different technique for each person, obviously.
And it's funny how that wasn't ever talked about or explored when I was learning, but I think I was doing that anyway because I wasn't thinking about it,
Of
right?
course. That's what everybody
And
does. Kids do it first.
right. So I never thought about exactly what I was doing until we did learn that economy picking thing, and then I really tried to start thinking, oh, maybe I'm not picking right, and it's like almost like the more I learned, the more I started thinking about it, the less I was playing like myself.
That's going to screw everybody up. And that's
That's
why
maybe
writing is so important, because writing, and I'll just say it because I feel like that's how I found my identity, was through writing. Like
yeah.
I was like, oh, like I don't really know what kind of player I am or whether I'm doing it right, but I know the kind of sounds that I like, and I know the kind of moods I like to be in with my friends when I play music. And hopefully other people enjoy that, but like I enjoy it so much that that became the important thing. And so it's so much easier because I know how the character of the tune's supposed to go. And that's like when you play Donna Lee or something like that, you know, playing it as a straight eighth, you know, trying to play it with a punk rock feel. Like, I mean, I guess that's a bad example for these things, but it's so great to enforce different characters on tunes that don't want them, just to remember that you're the person that can control, like the holodeck, right? In Star Trek, it's like you can control the character at any given time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
um, of your solo. You can use all the space in the world. You can be busy. It's just like, what are you feeling? What do you feel like it needs right now? You know, what flavor does this musical moment need? And like, then kind of play from there, as opposed to like, I'm going to be so good that every time I play, I can just do this one thing. It's like, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. But some people do. They
On
practice so hard to play fast that that's
yeah.
not mentioning any names, but we know a few of them. You know, they practice so much stuff coming out, and it's finally there, but then you can't do it. Seems like incapable of like, now that I can do that, why would I do anything else?
Yeah. And I'm so in my head about it because I feel like I'm doing exactly the opposite of everything you're saying. I'm not playing for myself. I'm playing what I expect or what I think people expect to hear. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking too
Oh,
much
not
about
all the
like,
time, are though? Are we
well,
saying?
just when I feel like I'm out of my comfort zone, I guess. So if I'm in a song that I really dig and I'm just loving it, I'm playing music, I'm not thinking about anything. And then let's do a tune 250, a song I've never played before. That's okay, just solo on it. And I'm like, okay, what do they expect me to do? I need to fulfill a role for this song. And
Well, I was trying to say that tune's role is just to be fast.
yeah,
So like just remember the whole point of that is not to like test people on how fast they can play, but to provide a palate cleanser for the previous and the next moment, whether it's a break tune or
cool way
going
of
between.
thinking about it.
Well, it's the
Um,
only way to think about it because
yeah,
you can be nervous about it and have that affect your fear of every time somebody plays fast, or you could just have a good time like everybody else.
yeah,
Saxophone players, it's not as hard physically to execute a certain amount of sound, right? Flute stuff like that. There's something about it and I don't know how drummers or pianists do it, but I know for guitar it's just hard. So might as well just like have fun and let it be the fast tune and don't worry. I mean, you can play this
right.
ding 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 ding
Yeah,
ding. You know what I mean? It's like play what's going to be fun for you and make use sustain and use rhythm and use
yeah.
character and let it be fun and laugh about it afterwards.
I usually always do that.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, I was talking more about the audience than I was the band, I'm always thinking about the audience and their expectations, which I know it's like everything in my being says not to do that, but
Here's the
that's
thing. The
that's
audience is the band. Just think of it
yeah,
that way.
yeah,
You will if you're thinking about the band and how to make what the band is doing, you and the band are doing together, the primary objective, then the audience will always enjoy it because that's all they came to see.
yeah, that's
They
true.
don't want us to play for them as much as them screaming an encore you've just played, and their ignorance and stuff like that's. I don't have a problem with that because it's to be expected at certain gigs. But the issue is that they wouldn't be there if they knew how it worked. So
Sure.
let
It's
us just
magic to them, right?
let
It's
us
a
just
magic
do the
show.
stuff that we know we need to do and try to make it be about presenting that awesomely. And then, but
Yeah,
sometimes, you do need a fast tune. That's what I'm saying. And sometimes the set and what needs to be
I get
done is
that.
just this. Um, and you could also say, "Hey, I don't want to take a solo." Everybody does that. Just
Yeah,
shake your head and be like, "No," and nobody's going to say, "Oh, you can't do it." You know what I mean? You're not playing with
sure.
people that they know you too well to know that that's a problem. But the point of this tune is to, or work out a break, or have your solo be the melody. Like I love that on fast bluegrass. It's like I'm gonna play kick the kickoff, and I'm gonna play it at the end. But I'm not gonna take a solo because that I used up my two times to play.
Hmm.
You
A
know.
great idea. Yeah.
Well, and also why play? What's his name? The drummer for Tower of Power. Um, he did a workshop at this camp I taught in Washington one time. Garibaldi, Dave Garibaldi. Does that sound right?
Sounds familiar. Yeah. I don't know
Anyway,
that band very well.
there was a jazz camp for high school kids, and they were asking about improvisation. He's like, honestly, I think it's really important to improvise. I improvise, but when I get on stage with this band, I don't improvise. And there was this like, especially one of the instructors, it was like, wait, no, don't
Mhm.
don't say don't improvise. But he had a really great point. He said, in order for going out and playing this type of music to be fun for me, I spend a lot of time figuring out something new to do on every track that's going to be interesting. And I work really hard on it. And every tune has a different thing. And it's the perfect part for that tune. So why would I go out there and play anything else than the perfect part that goes with that tune, which is, it's like talking about taking a line out of a Bach piece or something.
Hmm.
I think that's a great philosophy that there is improvising that's part of that, which is the creative process of coming up with how it interlocks. And then he knows that he feels good to be on stage and have all these things that just pop. So, like, if you're going to call a specific type of tune at a fast tempo, you can have your shit worked out. I mean, listen to Coltrane on Giant Steps. He repeats himself so many times. He was clearly preparing to practice over that tune. So for somebody who's busy trying to struggle to have a living being a musician to be like amazing at every tune at a fast tempo is really outlandish. So figure out the ones that are going to be called the most and come up with the stuff that works at those fast tempos. Because the thing that works at a certain tempo on rhythm changes is not going to be the thing that works at 300.
Yeah.
And
Every
we've all
so
had those experiences where you just play like a chord and you're like, I don't know what to play. And then everyone's like, yes, that was the greatest.
right.
Thank you for just leaving some space and like, starting with something, that's about sound rather than about, ego or fear.
And it's about contrast too, because I will do that, of course, and that's my fallback. But then it's all the whole solo is that, and it gets boring and trite, and then I get back in my head again, I'm like, oh, now I'm doing it too much. I'm not mixing it up with the fast stuff enough. Um, but again, that's my plight that I'm working on in my head. I also feel like I'm training for a marathon, and I ran this great marathon for many years, and then I stopped training, and now I got to go run a marathon, and I'm like, I'm not in shape anymore, so I need to get back into shape, and this is perfect for that.
How good are you at hearing things at slower tempos when you're playing at faster tempos? Because we always do that subdivision when we play slower.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're playing a really slow ballad, to like think about it as a
A
triplet on
triplet.
every beat, or sometimes a 16th note on every beat,
Mm-hmm.
which is not easy for everybody. But if you're playing, do be do dee, boo be dee, can you immediately start hearing
I'm always in triplets. Yeah.
exactly? And then another great one is do dee do
And yeah, that I would feel
so
like double
that
time
that's a
feel.
double time feel. So what
Yeah.
you can do is flip that on its head, and it takes some practice. But if you're thinking of 1, 2, 3,
Time.
ba 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 do deep 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 ba do boo doop doop boo deep boo doop boo dum. Right, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's been a minute since I worked on this, so like give me a second to find my pocket. What are the up-tempo drum genius tracks? They're pretty fast, right? Very
Yeah, let's
fast
listen.
jazz swing.
What's interesting about that is I do play the half note thing, but I'm still feeling the quarter note, which makes it feel odd to me. But if I start feeling that half note, like almost like halftime, that is a cool idea. I don't know why that changes things, but it does.
Well, because you don't feel you're breathing.
Yeah.
This is Tane on Cherokee, and it's 288, so that's in the ballpark of what we're talking about. Instead of hearing it as
Yeah.
we're hearing it as, but we're actually feeling it in halftime, right?
Yeah.
So your bridge goes from uh, to just da ba boop bee boo dee boo ba ba bee ba doo dee ba 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 boop boop doo bee bum. And really, I hear pretty strong. I know Zoom fucks all this up, but I hear very strong, happy. Da dee ba doo doo bee boop ba bee boop bee 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 ba doo dee. Right? It, if you over swing and feel that, the drummer will catch on and probably switch with you. You know what I mean? So you might want to
Right.
communicate not to do that.
That's the
But then
contrast I was talking about. If you go back and forth, then yeah.
the drummers do this all the time. This is their version of modes. You know what I mean? At what mode do I feel the time? um, and if
Mhm.
you play a double time lick, you're going to be more relaxed in terms of where it lands because you're feeling it half as slow.
Yeah.
Da dee 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 doo, you know, da da,
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da.
and it's what it really is feeling the one, and the three is it's downbeat as the first measure as the downbeat beat, and the second measure as the upbeat. One, one, two, three, four, one, two, one, two, one, two, three, four. But the changes you have to either find things like rhythm changes where it doesn't matter, like it can just float, or you have to practice this concept over changes moving twice as fast.
Yeah, it'd just be like cut time, sort of,
Yeah,
right?
but in the case of things moving like rhythm changes, two per bar, that takes a minute. You know what I mean?
2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, I see.
Those are all
One,
in one
2,
key,
3,
dig,
4.
but like
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and
exactly.
1. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And in a turnaround, it's not hard, but in a tune like what would be a fast? Oh, Cherokee's probably a great one because it's played fast and it has more changes, but it has more space too. It's built in to be
Hmm.
a fast tune.
Hmm. Cool. 3, 4, 1, 2.
Right?
Hmm.
It's just like, and
Hmm.
then don't worry about playing. The whole objective is to try to be truthful in what you're hearing and try to stay in the focusing of the halftime sound. And theoretically, as you practice this, you'll be more comfortable when that happens because you won't go to, oh God,
Hmm.
I'm feeling the quarter note, to really you're feeling the whole note.
Yeah. I was just noticing that is that it's not even halftime, it's like quarter time or,
Yeah.
or whatever. That's
Well, because
interesting. Yeah.
we get lost when we try to play too fast. We get lost. We're not in control. So this is a way of like
Yeah.
reducing the fire, but increasing the control, which the fire can come from that.
Yep. Because even there with my, when I was listening to you and kind of imagining what I would do, just right there at the end, I guess that was the 2/5 going back to the A. Then you could jump into something that's 16th note, and go back to it. And that's the contrast I'm talking about that I
And
always.
what's easy to play fast? Like I feel like that tempo again. I would do that pedaling thing quite a bit. Like this is something when you hear me play fast tune, I'll always play.
Mhm.
You know, because I'm still basically feeling larger beats, but I'm using the pedal to sort of help. The same thing with a sweep,
Sure.
and then the 3 note per string stuff. This setup isn't ideal, but or, now I'm using a repeated idea that's what 5 or something like that, but I'm using
Hmm.
the hemiola effect to
Hmm.
have the excitement be more about the rhythm idea, less about
And
the
the note.
content of the line.
What was the first pattern you played on that 3 note string? Do you remember? That was a cool one.
This one,
No, actually, when you went to the 3 note string thing, not the arpeggio thing, you were like, "Dude," it was in. I'm like, I can't remember either.
um,
That might have been it.
um, um, mean, what I
Oh,
did
I'll check the
a long
video.
time
It's fine.
ago is I just took 3 notes per string and tried to figure out all the things. Like, like you have to at a certain point say, what can I play easily fast?
Hmm.
And start building a vocabulary out of that, right? I mean, maybe that's where we should have started this conversation. But it's like, what feels good at that tempo? Like, what can feel good? And that's probably where my efficiency picking started,
Hmm.
because I was just like, well, this feels good, so I'm not going to question it. But when you have 3 notes per string, like enclosures are 3 notes per string, so it's like, what is that? I'm going back 3 and up 1. So like,
It's the jump
yeah,
pass thing, right?
yeah.
I need
But
to
like,
practice that one.
if you do it, I'm going up and then back, or let's say we're in B flat,
Hmm.
so I can move this way, which is going to be fourths or thirds.
Yeah. So each time you're using 1, 2, 4, it's just a stretch on the first one.
Yep, that might change it. Or they get frets get closer together. I might stop using my pinky.
Uh, that's a
So
good pattern to practice. Yeah.
yeah, well, there's a bunch in there. Is an inversion of,
Hmm.
and then also the enclosures when they're not following the rule of if they're just diatonic,
Hmm.
and you can also skip strings.
Hmm.
But the
And then
punctuation's important because I've got to stop more often when it's fast. I've got to have there be right. I don't really. I mean, part of me wants to play. Gosh, I wish that wasn't a problem for me, but it's a problem for me. So I've got to reduce my lines to again more spoken or sung lines,
yeah, and
where
that's where I am too.
it's where everyone I
And
think
I don't know if
should
it's
be. So
if I hear that again because I like that kind of music and that's how I want to play, or if that's what I feel like people expect me to sound like, you know? Because I do listen to a lot of that stuff, and I like, I was just listening to Bruce Foreman, that guy,
yeah,
and it's kind of the same thing. It sounds like he's got all these fast tunes and he worked out all this stuff. It's just killer because he nails all of it. And it's fast as shit. So I guess I do like that stuff, but just because I like it, does that mean I'm gonna play? I don't know.
you don't like it enough to pick up the instrument and always try to play that, which is the people that end
Right.
up in that place love that so much that they spend more time on it. So, you can't avoid the fact that you've wound up where you've wound up. We're all
Yeah.
guilty and blessed by that.
It's a
And
good
if,
line.
if you needed to do it, you would, but you don't really need to do it, right? So if you were
Okay.
living in New York, you would have to crush on those fast tunes, and it creates a different aesthetic. But you're not doing that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Then the reason you're not doing that is because you chose not to do that, right? So like
Yeah.
if you move to New York to be a jazz guitar player, you have certain things, you want
I have
that
to do. And I don't know
feel.
if this has a desire to do it is again because I desire it or because I feel like it's expected of me. It's like that battle that I always
Well, I
seek to
desire
fix.
more money, and I don't desire it enough to do anything about getting it. So like that's what
Maybe
you
that's the
just
thing. Now that I'm making enough money to not worry about it, I'm like more focused on what I'm actually playing. Isn't that a funny dichotomy?
well,
But
it's the truth.
yeah, I mean, I'm at this point now where I'm like, I don't care about the money. I just want to go play some more. Like it used to be back in the day. I mean, what you take like 20, 30, $40 gigs and not bat an eye. And now I'm like, well, if it's not at least 100, I can't do it. So
Yeah,
you don't end up playing anymore.
yeah, but we're making now what they should have been paying us in 1998.
Well, there's that argument as well, but that's
Um,
that's why I do these weddings, right?
yeah.
To try to somehow make a balance out of it.
Did we?
Anyway,
I was gonna say one thing if you didn't have anything for today, which is like playing fast is its own thing. And I let me know if you figure something out because everybody's
Hmm.
still working on it. Uh, Also, you start booking gigs where you don't have to play fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and this only happens 9 to 10% of the time, so I'm not trying to make a big deal about it, but it's happened enough recently where I've been like, okay, maybe this is something I should work on, or at least uh, just even talk about. And I think even just the points you make viscerally or mentally are important, just the way of thinking.
have you ever played Dirth's "Happy Birthday"? Does anyone ever have you ever heard him play it or ever play it?
I don't think so.
He goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, ba 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 bum bum boom check to get
Okay.
very festive, very fun, very fucking fast. And it happens at the drop of a hat, and the key isn't always called, so there's that too. But what is the fucking purpose of Happy Birthday? It is because nobody plays the song unless it's somebody's birthday. So the point of that song is already the fact that it's being played. The point of it is not to like showcase one's best technique. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
in a situation like that, you play something fun,
Hmm.
whatever that means, or you play the fucking melody. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or
Hmm.
you go crazy, or you play space. I mean, you can do anything that you want, but the point of it is not to see how good of a guitar player you are. The point of it is because Happy Birthday is being played, you
Hmm.
know? So it's like that's every fast tune is going to be that,
Hmm.
unless the point of it is to showcase how badass everybody is, which I think is a good point too. If you have
Yeah.
a band that can do that, do it on every tune, I guess. I mean, that's going to be boring for the audience, but it's going to make whatever ballad you play be amazing because
Hmm.
everyone's been waiting for it. Um, I could hear ballads all night. I guess I could hear fasts if all night if I was in the right mood for it, but I'm not in the mood to play that way. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be either.
Yeah. I seldom am, but it has become, or it always has been, sort of a prerequisite of any gig. Even when I'm making songs for a gig, I'm like, oh, I got to do the fast tune here because you know when you need it and it's necessary. I don't disagree with that.
Well, take some guitar solos that you think are fast and and the ones that you like and try to figure out how they're accomplishing it. I mean, Wes is always a
Physically.
great person to listen to because he's playing with his thumb and he's playing
Yeah,
octaves. He's
everything's.
using a lot of space and he's grooving like a motherfucker.
Hmm.
Um, Schofield's interesting for that. Matheny's very interesting for that.
Hmm.
Jim Hall would also be very interesting for that. What you'll hear is, okay, this feels fast because the guitarist is shaky. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But the tempo isn't as fast as I thought, and almost everybody struggles at these tempos and has to make some sort of concession. And Matheny's great because he just goes into full emotion. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I've
It's
noticed that.
always just do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do. You know what I mean? He kind of
Hmm.
like Kenny G's it. He'd hate to hear that said that way, but like it's a great way to go about it. If the tempo's this and burning, and he can play
Yeah.
great fast tempos, man, and with a guitar trio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's got his fucking tricks.
Yeah.
You could learn some of the things that he does fast to help you understand one direction to go in.
Yeah. Good point.
But then you'd sound like Matheny at fast tempo. So I would pepper that in with a
Sure.
couple of other things too.
But then what about Russell Malone, or Mark Whitfield, like these guys who are like almost the Pat Martino, I guess, camp, or I don't know what you would call it, but it's like the very percussive, I don't even know. I can't even like
I haven't
sing it.
listened to those guys recently enough. I remember when they first came out as young lions being sincerely unimpressed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Uh, because it's like I mean, like for example, I wouldn't be able to hear the difference between those two guys, but that's just because I haven't followed their playing. And I don't find that what they play at fast tempos to be very in control.
Hmm.
But again, I should listen again. Martino, he's an anomaly, but like
Yeah. And he
he
had a
played on
whole way of
super,
going
yes,
about it. So that
yeah,
made it
super
different.
heavy strings and like
Yeah.
came from that Italian school, right? Of like, mandolin playing. I mean, he didn't play mandolin, but just this whole, all the Italian American guitar players were pickers. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
The whole, even Joe Pass started that way. Like,
Hmm.
and if you do this every day, over and over and over again, like some of my mandolin players that play really fast will say, get your hand moving as fast as it needs to, but don't worry about how bad the sound is. Just try to get your hand moving as
Percussion.
fast as you want it to play, and then gradually start playing simple things really sloppily, and then work on somehow refining that.
Hmm. That's
Um,
interesting.
I don't have enough years left to like change my philosophy to adapt that, but it's a really cool way to think about it. Is just like, well, let's just get this going first, and then figure out how you need to hold the pick to sort of make it work. But man, you're not every single person I talk to at every single level is always talking about this. So it's not like
Mhm.
you get to some arrival point and you're like, oh, this is how I did it,
Right. Yep. All good ideas, though. I mean, I think that's just what I need. I just need a bunch of ideas. So, and this book too is great. This is kind of exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, they're fun. Have you ever heard Trey uh, play fast? Like Trey Pollard?
Hmm. Haven't heard him in so long. I can't remember. I mean,
Check out some of the local guys. Just,
yeah,
I mean, not that you're going to be able to see them play much
right.
because nobody plays anymore, but like I remember hearing Trey play with Skip with this burning fast rhythm changes. I was like, man, what are you doing? He's like, when it's that fast, I just go like this.
Mhm.
And I was like, you were doing more than that. He's like, not really. He's like, check it out. And he just figured out a way to like elaborate on
Elaborate on that.
the,
Yeah.
this sort of guide tone, thing for the A sections. And I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And it's like, it just goes to show you everybody's figuring out their one unique way to deal with
Yeah.
this in every situation.
Yeah. He's on.
So
I got a record of him and Skip from back in the day. I wonder if there's a
they made a
fast tune
record
on there.
together?
Yeah, it's way back. I've got it on my iTunes somewhere. I'll see if I can find it. I remember getting it like in school. I think we were all still in school.
Wow.
Or
I
maybe it
would
was
love to
Trey's
hear
record
that.
and Skip was on it. I can't remember.
Maybe
But
Trey made a record with Skip, but those guys had very much a love hate relationship from all the nights at the Jefferson.
right. Um, I also came across that someone was talking about Emily Remler. Is that her
Huh?
name? And I found the look up her and Dearth and
Yeah, they made like two records together, right?
I think it's Dearth and Howard Curtis and John Abercrombie. And listen to that record on one of our road trips. It was killer. So
Is
great.
Mark Johnson on that too?
Maybe on bass.
There
Yeah, I
was a
can't remember
period
who.
where Emily lived here and Mark Johnson lived here in Charlottesville.
Oh wow. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Let's that's gonna give me something to get started with. So that's cool. Maybe next time we can do this tune, Witchcraft. Came across this for the first time.
Witchcraft,
Yeah.
nothing more than witchcraft. That one.
But I started checking out I didn't even know him at the time. Who is it? Don Pearson? What's his name? Pearson?
Duke Pearson?
Duke Pearson. Yeah. Who I've never heard of. And
Oh
he's a
yeah,
great piano player. I don't know
yeah.
why
Great
he
songwriter too.
and so I went back to his first record and listened to that. And he does that song on there. I'd never heard it before. And the next thing that came up was that Sinatra version.
Yeah.
But it's basically what's the name of the song? Unforgettable, right?
Interesting.
And it's got that
Uh,
diminished chord in it. So we can do it next time. We don't have to do it now because we're out of time. But
I don't remember the diminished.
they have it as a F
Oh yeah,
to A flat diminished.
starts on a six.
So it is the tonic diminished.
Flat three is the same as tonic. Yeah.
Okay. That's why I was gonna like see if I was right about that. I
The only
didn't think
reason they
about it
do
just
it
going
that
up on
way
my
is because it goes down to two. You see what I mean? It's better voice seating when it goes down to two.
it's the same thing we've always been talking about.
I mean, it's basically Corcovado.
5 of 3. Oh yeah, sure.
But that's
That's a
an A
good
minor,
point.
and this one's an F.
Well, that's just a 3 chord then.
Yeah, yeah,
So E7.
yeah.
Yeah. And
E7.
then that E7 just goes right to G minor.
Yeah, but it's not so funny. I mean, not funny. It's not so weird when you think of it as
Uh-huh.
like this F in an inversion to the G sharp going to G, it seems to sound fine
would
to
be
our ears. And that scale would probably be
that's the
a harmonic minor one.
that's the heritage thing too at the beginning,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. So
Well,
all
and
of it's coming together a little bit.
good,
So
yeah.
that even though that song is, it's whatever, and I might do it now because nobody seems to play that standard. Those three things kind of popped up in my head. I was like that E7 thing because it's an F. I was thinking that
And you could also do the
right.
witchcraft, just like Corcovado.
Okay, yeah. I think they actually have that written in the chart
And then you get a
at
minor chord.
at the end.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You resolve it. Right?
Yeah.
Beautiful chords there.
I like how he kind of makes that an intro to that B section.
Uh, goes to
Yeah.
three.
Hmm.
Um, oh, is that the pre-chorus, or does it go back to the
That's
chorus
the
then?
chorus. Da, 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 da. And then it goes back to the A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it go up to this?
The D. It's only like a 8 bar A section out.
I
But
don't
it's
remember how it ends. I just remember
okay.
those
That might
pieces.
be an arrangement.
Well, I remember it's not quite 32 bars, right?
It's 16, 16 plus 8. Yeah, so
What's
30,
the
32 plus 8.
eighth is which part?
The last 8 is just the
Oh, cool. Is this Cole? Who wrote this?
I don't know. It's Cy Coleman.
Cy Coleman. Okay,
I don't know who that is.
I recognize the name. So it's A. And then B.
Wow, they call that part of A.
And then it's chorus.
This they call the B.
So
Yeah, the
C.
chorus. Yeah.
B half diminished to an E to A minor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the melody is. And then it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
Works
interesting
great under the
poem.
guitar, doesn't it?
It's great. Good key for it too. Bye Bye Blackbird has that same A flat diminished.
Oh, okay, yeah. I recognize a lot of things from here, from other standards. That's why I'm curious. I mean, this says 1957, so yeah, it's pretty late in terms of a standard. So it sounds
Yeah.
like they're kind of taking a lot from other songs, or he or she, Cy Coleman.
Cycle. Yeah.
Look it up.
That's a name. The other thing is those old books sometimes for those diminished would write them as D flat. This flat
Mm,
thing. It's a great extension on this particular sound because it's not in the harmonic minor scale as we know it. It's adding a chromatic neighbor, but and then like I don't know if you know from Corcovado, but they actually put a D. It's like and then it says
oh, sure, yeah.
right?
Sharp 9, yeah.
So it's like there's this cool thing that happens with every one of those diminished wherever you have it, to try to figure out. That's an interesting thing to sort of throw into the playing.
Yeah, flat 9.
Well, and treating the whole thing like a D flat is an interesting sound, right? And then this is that's a D
D,
flat dominant arpeggio.
oh, just Mixolydian.
Yeah,
Interesting.
just
Okay.
D flat. No,
Oh,
no other
just the
scale.
arpeggio.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's hard for me to play without the Mixolydian mode. Gotta work on that, I guess.
We never did that with the diminished. Is like you can play all those dominants. So like if you play this, I can play the E7, which we talked about,
Right.
E flat 7, the B flat 7, or the G7.
Okay.
It's a really great thing to do, especially in more modern situations, because that one chord,
G7. And then B flat 7. Yeah, I see.
yeah, if you do all of them, it sounds like you're doing a pattern. But if you just commit to one, you hear all the tension. So like, if I had the piano like I did yesterday at the studio, if I did a nice freeze pedal on the diminished, and
Uh-huh.
then got used to the sound of E dominant 7,
Mm-hmm.
those are great arpeggios. We've talked about those, right? Going through those inversions,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's another one I need to pick up again.
That's there, and then B flat 7, and
Mm-hmm.
then D flat 7. So da 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 da,
Yeah, it's a great sound.
or da 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 E7. It sounds similar, don't they?
Mm-hmm. And it almost
It's
sounds like
totally
you're,
different.
I would just say you're playing diminished, but you're
It's
not
one
thinking
note
that.
different. It's
Right, it's
one
just
note
one note
different than
different.
diminished.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
The G7, makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. And then you can go right to G minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those arpeggios are great. Like I think it takes somebody who's been playing a lot to realize the fundamentals of playing a dominant seventh inversions aren't about playing those chords. It's about using them over other structures.
Yeah,
You know what I
fun.
mean? On the simplest level, a B flat major seventh is the top of a G minor 9 or the top
Right.
of an E flat Lydian. Like you're using those structures to float on top of stuff, and this is a great example. What would be another diminished chord? Unforgettable is in G a lot of the times, right? So that'd be the right that one, and the one we expect there is the F sharp dominant because it's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we could also go unforgettable. That's what you are. A.
Sharp A. Yeah.
Pianists love this because they can actually hold that fucking diminished chord while they're cascading the other thing.
Yeah.
We have to really work on hearing it or trusting that it's going to work, or practice it with a band. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this theory only exists as a theory until you can sit down at the piano and hold that chord and hear it work
Yeah.
and know which one you'd favor and what keys and why and all that sort of stuff. Because theory, just as theory, is a fucking dangerous thing, man. Real dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to sound like music. It's just going to sound like you're trying stuff, which is not always music.
Good opportunity to bring the looper out again. Kind of loop that.
Totally.
That'd be fun.
Totally. Yeah,
Cool, man.
totally.
And just to be clear, that's the same progression or same two chords, right? The G major 7 to what you call the F sharp. It's still the tonic diminished,
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
just with that note as an extension. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool way to play it. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great key for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that a lot for but beautiful.
Could you put the E in there too?
Opening.
Yeah, open E. That's cool. Bird.
This is a cool one because you can actually go one major third, fifth, major seventh, sharp 9, sharp 11th, 13.
Oh, wow.
The G major seventh chord, and then the seventh becomes a F sharp dominant seventh chord off of it.
That's
So you
great.
isn't that fun?
Yeah. Back to F sharp again.
Hmm.
It's a fun one.
Playing those down would mean involving. That's interesting. You'd have to see the whole thing. You know this one?
So that's that major 7 sharp 9 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would be the chord, right? So
Yeah.
if you're in a harmonic minor,
Yeah.
this is the arpeggio, extended arpeggio of F,
Mhm.
E, G sharp, B, D.
Mhm. Mm. All this
Interesting.
reminds me of Heritage again. Hermitage. That's the same
Yeah,
sound. It's like I can just
E too. Yeah,
identify it immediately.
yeah.
Fun.
Because that would now allow you to play it over both chords. You know, the same
Right.
mode, both chords. Stay in that mode for the one chord too. Like so, the whole thing would be da 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 da. You're just basically,
Yeah.
and then the two chord. Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, cool, man.
Oh
That's
yeah, I'm gonna
good
run.
stuff.
I'll get this diminished stuff one day, I swear.
Hey, you're coming up with it pretty quick.
Oh, it's only taken me what, 3 years?
Well, the first trick is that it's not the diminished scale. You know, that's
Right, I know. And I think that's where I've been wrong this whole time. It's not a scale, it's not a mode, it's like a
it's a sound.
something, the sound, yeah. A thing. Let's see. August 4th.
Yeah, that looks good.
Um,
I'll go back
yep.
to noon unless you have a thing or I have a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I already have a gig, but it's at night, so I'll see you on the 31st.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, it'll be
Look
fun.
forward to that. I have no idea what we're gonna play. That group plays together so seldomly, and we have two gigs that week.
Nice.
So that will be the second of them. So I guess we'll figure it out at Hamilton's the Wednesday before. Um, the first time that place has had a trio, and that'll be our last gig there.
Oh yeah.
Both my weekly gigs got canceled last week.
Wow.
Like, I knew Hamilton's was going to stop because I can't do it during the school year, but the Bluegrass restaurant closed. This woman, one of her primary investors, who's this Weasley guy here in Charlottesville, like pulled out all the funding and they had to close like super last minute.
Man, it's a drag.
It's a super drag, and we were really starting to get somewhere with regularity in terms of the crowd and also with our playing and the repertoire. But we'll find another place. I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah.
It's just an inconvenience because now you got to figure out if people can pay and like whether or not they can
Right.
host on a Monday night, and if not, are people available? And some of these guys I think are going to be like, hey, let's take some time off. You know what I mean? Like with kids and stuff. Whereas
Oh
when
yeah.
it's every week, they just get it scheduled and like a year will go by before they start wondering whether or not they should be doing a weekly gig. You know.
Yeah, our Lolitas is getting preemptively canceled. They let us
Oh
know
no.
that they'll go through Day of the Dead. We're gonna do a big Day of the Dead show, and they're like, and then we're gonna stop. It's like, well, do
Isn't
you
that
want
in
to?
May?
What's that?
The Day of the
No,
Dead is
no.
in May.
The am I saying the wrong one? What's the one that's
Oh,
November
by
1st?
Halloween? Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that is. I might have it wrong.
Yeah, I can't
Well,
remember. Whatever
yeah,
the
we didn't
Mexican
have
holiday
notice.
is.
We didn't get
Yeah,
any
so
notice at all.
I know. Well, the notice is cool, but it's like you want to see how it goes for a little while just to see maybe you want to keep going, but they know when they want to end it. So, and I'm rearranging my entire schedule for that. I'm actually dropping a day teaching, but I kind of welcome that change anyway. So I'm
Yeah,
not going to cry
that's
about
what
that.
Chloe keeps telling me too. She's like, "Look, every time this happens, something else happens. It's just
Hmm.
it always happens. Something else always happens. So don't worry about it." And I'm not really worried about it. I'm more just like,
Bummed.
well, it's like it's an emptiness of like I just want to play because not Love Cannon isn't really working, and I just need to play mostly just for my own sanity.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's where I am too.
Well, I'll
We'll
see you on
see.
the 4th, and
Okay.
we'll see what we get into. Okay, see you,
Okay.
John. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.